so you talk to this person, say you've been able to have one conversation, two conversations.
Mhm.
When and how would you transition to, or would you even transition to making that ask, like, hey, I'm actually really interested in this.
Mhm. Mhm.
How would you do it?
Do you remember when we had that co-op class? We had the 30-second pitch, and at the ending of
Yes,
the pitch, you close.
you close.
And then when you're doing sales, the most important point of sales is closing.
Yeah.
This is where the close part. But the hardest part of sales is closing, because you don't want to scare somebody away, and you don't want to, seem like that's the only reason you were engaging with them. So you have to learn the skill of closing. And what I mean by closing is where you make your request of something back in return. And you got to see how that entire conversation for the 2 weeks or 1 week or however long it was went, and how it resulted, and how you can kind of request it. Sometimes you'll see you can't really request it for a good long time, because you're still having engagements where it's still about them, right? Some people, when you're networking with them, they are happy to talk about themselves for long and long and long and long and long. It seems like I was gonna say something in Urdu, but it's a poetry, but I'll say it in English. It's like, it seems like that no one in their house gives them their attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm gonna be really honest. So they're here to let you know about all of that, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You spend the time and you hear it, and then the time comes when they go like, "Hey, I never got a chance to know about you. Tell me a little bit
Damn.
about yourself." And
That's it.
that's when you very subtly, very respectfully, because remember, it's still about learning from them. They're still your mentors, they're still your coach, and you still want to see yourself in their shoes, right? So you gotta very subtly and respectfully and humbly mention, hey, this is what I've done in the past. So I have a certain resume and XYZ, and then you say, this is what I see, like I feel like this is why I'm interested in learning from you, because I see myself in your shoes, because of what I've conquered, what I've achieved, and what I'm doing in my education. And so I think, and what I've learned over the last 2 weeks of discussion, I feel like I could be a very good fit for what you're currently doing, and thus I want to work towards it. And then a lot of the times, a lot of the times, whoever you're networking with will ask you for a resume.
Hmm.
This is where you're gonna send a banger resume, because you
Yeah.
gotta understand, if that resume is a banger resume, this person's gonna reference you. And then everybody's gotta understand this one point: 70% of all hires are through reference based. I could be wrong about this, but this is what I remember from the co-op classes, right? This is something like 70 or 60% of all hiring is done through internal or reference. So, my friend, this may be your chance to snap that and get that job interview, right? You won't directly. I don't know if somebody could get you a direct job through networking. I know you'll get a lot of interviews. I did, uh, and then you go into those interviews, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, so you make that subtle, respectful introduction to your resume. They ask you for the resume, you give them a bomb resume, and if they like that resume, they will put a reference in. But here's the key detail: not a lot of people tell you. A lot of these companies have a reference, I'm going to say bonus for a lot of these employees. So if they
Mm.
hire someone who's good and that person actually gets hired, somebody's getting an extra bonus on their next paycheck. So if they hire you and you were the reference and you've been a good employee, that person that referenced you gets a bonus on their next paycheck. And so it's inherently in our interest also or I would say in the interest of these professionals, to choose the best people also. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's
I
another.
got a couple questions from there. So one big thing I think we got to point out is, you know, so you're listening to this person talk about themselves, and because you're genuinely interested, that has to be a key component.
Mm-hmm.
And as they are, there will come a time, maybe that's two conversations in, three conversations in,
Mm-hmm.
30 seconds in,
Yeah.
where they turn the table on you and they say, okay, what about you? And that's the opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
you to sell yourself in a very humble and subtle way, which
Yeah.
is something you're just going to have to master through
Yeah.
practice.
Yes. And if the first 10 times you network with somebody it doesn't come fruitful, that's totally fine. But you learned how to network. I'm pretty sure after you do it 10 times, you understand the key details of what's successful and what's not successful. And then you see what's successful and you keep going, you keep achieving more through that. What's not successful, you throw it out the garbage. I'm going to be honest. Some people might find my entire speech about this for 1 hour not successful. And that's totally fine. But you got to find your method. This was my method. It helped me out. And you can take my method and work with it and see if that's successful. There'll be some engagements where they'll never talk about you. That's totally fine. So then for you, it's important that you decide when you need to introduce yourself. When they give an answer like this, like I find that really interesting because in my experience, I've done this. This is what I got from my education. You kind of have to find that strategic manner of how you can turn that flip on yourself, but don't do it way too early. Do it when you can build that trust and when they can understand that why you're bringing that in, right? Yeah. If they're not asking you directly, then you got to bring it in a strategic manner, right? So
I like that advice a lot. So because what we've done here in the past little while is not just because a lot of people say like just go and network, right? Oh my God, all the time on LinkedIn I'll be scrolling and be like the power of networking, why you need to network.
Yeah.
Nobody's actually telling you how. Yeah. Especially in this like COVID, we're super digital. There's not many actual networking events, which is for some people really helpful that they don't like going in person. But what we've been able to do in this little bit of time is actually break down, okay, how do you find out who to reach out to, going through that process of finding the company or finding the industry, the company, the role, the various roles, and then the people. And then also like how to open and how to work through to that close. So that's, I think we've done some good work here, and I think people will take a lot of advantage out of it.
Definitely.
What are some things that you started doing later on? Because you said, this is a learning process. What are 2 or 3 things that you started doing later on, closer to when you started, getting offers and jobs and interviews, that you wish you had started doing earlier?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, so initially, I think I was pretty ripe when I graduated. I think a lot of, because I'm being very honest, we had so many events at Goodman, and I went to almost all of them. Yeah. And a part of me, one thing was food was good, but a big part of me was generally there to network. And because you never know who's gonna be your next, I'm being very genuinely honest about this. You never know who's gonna be the next person that gives you the biggest break of your life. It could be someone who's 10 years younger than you. It could be someone who's 20 years older than you, but you don't know, because this world has a funny way of working, and you want to make sure that every single time that you get a chance to make a bridge, you make that bridge and you keep that bridge up, right? And so I used to go to all these networking events, and now I'm networked with a lot of these really successful people. For example, a part of me, after I graduated, wanted to reach out with one of these networks that I made in first year. That guy was a master's student, and he's working internationally. So as I told you, there's a part of me that wanted to work with internationally in another company, and he was at that company in that role that I wanted to be in.
Wow.
Right? So I was like, and me and him were pretty close. I could have reached out to him, but IBM worked out and all that stuff, so I didn't do it. But yeah, so I went to these networking events, and it helped me be ripe for when I was graduating, right? But I'll tell you initially what I did. I don't think I was way too serious, or I was having a little too much fun. I wasn't professional. I think initially in my first year, because I have the natural extroverted tendency. So I throw in more jokes than I should have, and sometimes that kind of shows that, hey, this guy's not really professional about this whole experience. So should I really give him the time of the day? And sometimes I was way too strict. I was like way too professional, and then some people would be like, "Oh, this guy's boring." Right? And nobody just wants to talk to a robot. So I think that helped me understand. I think 3 years or 4 years of networking helped me understand who I'm talking to and how I should network with them. Right? So now when I network with some people, I know when to throw in those jokes. I know when to say certain things. I know when to reserve myself at certain points. Certain people like someone who's super unfiltered, right? Be as honest, be as direct, and they're literally on my networking sessions with them. I don't swear, I don't cuss, or I try not to. But these guys be like bang, 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 right? And so they're throwing certain types of jokes, right? And so you can say something similar back to them, and that way they kind of gets it engaging. On the other hand, I had people who are like really reserved, right? So you had a certain way of, the jokes or the conversations that you have with them are very, very, in their manners. Um, and like, you have to understand, and I think that's a skill that comes with just talking to people, working with people. I mean, and then we also had customer experiences. I worked at so many hospitality positions, like jobs, like for part-time, that kind of teach you how to talk to different people. Yeah, so I think that's something that initially I wasn't really strong at, but now I think I can understand how to say or do what. I still mess up sometimes. I'm gonna be very honest. I still mess up, but that's part of being a human.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I think this piece about messing up is I've always been really conscious about, messing up, saying the wrong thing, etc. Most people, what I've noticed is they don't realize you've messed up.
Yeah.
Because you have this mindset and this plan of how it's gonna be in your head. And if it's not that way, that exact way, the words don't come out that way, or they don't respond right away, or whatever it is, you think you've messed up, but they have no idea about what that plan in your mind is. So a lot of the times you haven't actually messed up, but you think you have, and you kind of stumble on your own feet.
Yeah.
So, okay. We talked quite a bit about the networking piece. I want to move into a bit on the technical side, if that's okay, about, so you've done the networking. There's still the resume, the cover letter, the interview, that process. So we already figured out how to find the jobs that you want to apply to and the roles. You're already talking to the people that have those roles, and hopefully they're helping you get your foot in the door. What about the resume? Can we possibly share what your resume looks like and what your cover letter looked like? How long is it? What's the format?
Okay.
And then maybe dive into cover letter a bit.
Yeah, for sure. To start off, I'll say if anybody actually wants the physical version, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's the resume. And then I'll just quickly say that education, my experiences from the most recent. By the way, you need to have a master resume also. My master resume was like very long. And I chopped down that depending on which role I'm applying to, which industry, which position, all that's XYZ. So yeah, so you talk about your most recent professional experiences, and sometimes you just got to chop out certain experiences that don't have any value anymore. Like I used to work at a restaurant when I was 16 years old. I used to be a pizzeria, make a damn good pizza, trust me. So the entire experience I've taken out. I mean, I've learned a lot. That was my first experience, professional experience. It taught me a lot about customer service. It taught me how to just work with people, right? But I've taken that entire thing out. And then you go into your, some extracurriculars that you've done, because you have to show extracurriculars, right? You're like, it's very important because it shows you take initiatives. That's a huge part of hiring and all that stuff. And then after that is your technical and your computer skills and all that stuff. And then at the ending, you don't have to write, if you want references, I'll get you references. You don't have to write any of that stuff. But yeah, just after that technical skills, you just pretty much that's it. It was done.
Yeah. So is it like 1 page, 2 pages? Do you have a suggestion, or does it matter?
A lot of companies said keep it 1 page. I was like, I can't put all this stuff on 1 page. I just can't. So I've had 2 pages.
You'll see and it didn't matter. It still worked, right?
Okay, so some people literally told me that this is not good. You need to cut it. Like I was at networking events. I would show them my resume. They're like, this is a beautiful resume, but you got to make it 1 page for me, and then send it back to me. So
this is this is the people hiring that are giving you this advice. Wow. Okay.
So campus recruiters, I'll tell you. See, I was at Canadian Tire campus recruitment event where the guy said, you have an amazing resume and cover letter. Cover letter, just send me exactly what you have through my email, and then your resume, just make it 1 page if you could. I said, okay, I'll do my best. So you just chop off some things that you don't think are valuable, and then just send it.
Perfect. So that's good. Do you use any tools, or, I mean, you said Career Zone and getting other people to review your tools. Are review your resume were some of the big tools you used. Anything else that might help people
Um,
for their roles?
okay, so you within your network, see someone that you can trust with, like you can genuinely trust, right? You send them your resume and you ask them people who've already accomplished their career goals and all those stuff, right? You send them your resume and in a humble manner, you request them to just check it out, leave some comments. That's another thing I did. The last thing I did, this is very unorthodox. Not a lot of people do this, and I don't recommend technically do this, but because we're sharing it, I'll just say it. When I used to get rejected from certain positions, like sometimes you reach a certain point within the hiring process that they send you, like the HR person will send you an email, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it's just this automated email. You can't really respond to it, so whatever. But sometimes an HR person will send you an email. Hey, thank you so much for trying. We really hope you can continue applying to our positions, our company, and XYZ. I'll reply to that. I'll be like, thank you for your time. I'll write this nice email saying, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm really interested in the organization XYZ. I'd humbly request if you could just tell me what about my process or my resume or my cover letter that did not fit the organization's goals and everything. 90, like I'll say 80% of the time, the HR person wouldn't respond. But I had 20% of the time that the HR person would respond. So I'm gonna say one shout out. I'll shout out to Pepsi. Pepsi's
Mm-hmm.
HR person responded to that. This was a long time ago. This is first year actually, or second year. Yeah, that responded to that and said, "Hey, your resume was fine, your cover letter was fine. It's just that we were looking for someone in the master's program, and you're in the undergraduate program. Um, so our good luck for next time, and here's some other positions that you can apply to." And, at least she responded, right? So yeah, that's another thing. It's very unorthodox. I don't know if I necessarily recommend it, but hey, this is just who I am, and I don't mind sending an email back to an HR person after being rejected. But yeah,
Jeez. Okay. That's a good advice. And I did that. I remember I was applying for a co-op role in first, second year. There was a startup in Toronto that honestly I worked super hard to try to get the job. I mean, I went through the online interview process.
yeah.
They had me come into Toronto. They had me build a project
Mhm.
that
Oh,
somebody in the role
nice.
would be doing. Go to Toronto, and I'm like 17, 18 at this time. So it was a real mission getting to Toronto and preparing all this. And I was so nervous. I literally went, and the CEO's on the call. It's a startup. CEO's on the
Yeah.
call. They don't have an HR person, but they have the person I'd be reporting to and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I thought I crushed it, and
Yeah,
I
that
went
happens a
way out of
lot.
my, because I
Uh,
spent a good amount of hours on this project. I really
yeah.
refined it. Thought I did a lot of research on the company. Went, a couple days after the project, I got an email saying, "Hey, like, generic, I'm not interested. Like, we're not gonna move forward with you." Like, okay, like, what did I do wrong? And no reply. So
Yeah.
I was kind of being annoying. I emailed them again, and like, what did I do wrong? And they're like, no reply. So I followed up a couple times, but when they do reply, it's massively helpful, right? Because now
Yeah.
you have that missing piece
Yeah.
that'll help you get that next job.
Yeah. And like I don't know if I'll say it's a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. It's just something that I do, and I'm okay. I'm okay with the if people are replying or not replying with it. So you know, so it's not necessarily an advice I'd say, but I'd say, hey, it worked for me sometimes. It didn't work for me sometimes.
Okay. So I got a couple questions for you. I'm thinking, if you can rank some of these from 1 to 5, it's like
Okay.
a quick fire round. I'm going to
Go
say
for it.
pieces of the job search and just rank them as in one being, not that important,
Mhm.
5 being the most important thing you have to be doing.
Okay.
Okay. So they'll start off pretty simple, like having a great resume. How important is that to actually getting the job?
4.
4, it's up there. Cover letter.
Depending on the organization, it could either be 3 or 4.
Okay.
Some organizations don't want a cover letter. I know, if I can remember correctly, I could be 100% wrong. I remember when I was in second year, RBC did not want cover letters, or some roles they did. I just can't remember properly. But yeah, so it's really depending on the organization. Some organizations literally, some very big organizations sometimes are just like, we don't want cover letters. Send us your resume.
I just had just interviewed someone from Hydro One. They said the exact same thing. Small
Yeah.
companies, they want to see that cover letter if you're going for a small company because it's usually the person that's going to hire you, and it's a small unit, so they want to see
Mhm.
that you're interested in being part of that unit.
Mhm.
Whereas big companies, not a big priority. Okay, contacting recruiters themselves of jobs. How impactful is that?
That could actually work against you. I'm sorry, I'm giving long answers, but that could actually work against you because sometimes they can get annoyed. So
Okay,
yeah,
we'll talk about that after this then.
yeah.
'Cause
Um, I think I'd say 0.5.
seriously, okay,
Yeah,
definitely gonna talk about that.
yeah.
Researching companies.
Oh boy, from the entire process, yeah, I was just like 4.55.
Let's go to going to networking events or digital networking events.
6.7.
6.7, perfect. Having extracurriculars in your education or outside of your work.
3.54.
Okay. Your degree or the program you did.
3.
3. Okay. School, the reputation of the school you attended.
Depending on the organization and the job that you're going for, it could be 5
Interesting.
or
Yeah, and you have an experience about that. We
yeah,
might be able to talk about.
yeah.
Extra certifications. A lot of people are doing online certifications, whatnot. How important is that?
Every organization would pay you for or pay for your certifications anyways. So I'd say maybe 2.53. But if you do it, it shows a great initiative. So 3.
Okay. 3. Your original network, like the network you already have around you.
Oh yeah, you keep them strong. Don't burn any bridge. I'll say 4 for 5. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the projects that you've worked on. So maybe, you worked on, obviously you had your career jobs, but maybe you worked on projects on the side.
I think I said 3 to that. Yeah, 3. Because if you
Okay.
have work experiences, that overpowers any other school projects that you're doing.
Okay. This was actually, I'm really glad we did this because I was thinking about doing this, but maybe not. But this has actually got some really interesting topics because you said not to contact recruiters.
Um, okay, so let me clarify what I mean by that. A lot of these HR people are being contacted by thousands and thousands of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the better way of doing this is getting someone, a network, to talk to their HR person. Because if that holds 10 times more value than you directly contacting the HR person. And sometimes they get annoyed. I've been told this.
Very, very interesting because that's so true. I mean, typical sense, you'd think, okay, I'm gonna stand out if I reach out to this recruiter because
Yeah,
everybody's applying, but that's not necessarily true. They're getting emails from people for all sorts of jobs that they have posted,
yeah,
not
yeah,
just the one you're applying to.
yeah,
So it could be. That's really interesting. Thank
yeah,
you for that.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, but I mean, like it could work in your favor depending on the organization. It's super dependent on the organization.
So let's shift the focus to your actual journey. And what we might do honestly is put this part first and then the second part,
Yeah, for sure.
or if they're different episodes. But um, I want to hear from you your actual journey because you
Mhm,
went through all of the steps
mhm,
that were mentioned, or they might be in another episode.
mhm.
You went through all those steps. Walk us through that. Like, what did that look like? So
Yeah.
you
So
graduated. What's going on?
thanks for making it this far in the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please do share with somebody else. They may be benefited. If you do want to learn more about my journey and how I achieved a consulting role in a top tech company, watch out for my next video. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button, like, share, and hit that bell icon button so you get notifications for any new video that comes out. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram for more content. And if you are interested in my resume template, fill out that form in the description below and I'll email it out to whoever fills out the form. Thanks. Take care. Salam.